Hi, everyone. Kelly here. Today, I am so excited to talk to James and Michelle from Take Note Lessons about their studio and how they established their lead generation and sales processes to confidently scale their multi teacher studio. We have a lot of exciting updates. You guys have been working really hard over the last few months. So, before we get into all the weeds, I'm going to turn it over to you guys. Could you just tell us a little bit more about Take Note Lessons and what you guys offer?
Sure. Well, I'm Michelle, and I'm mainly in charge of the music half of the studio. I personally teach, and then help manage the other music instructors. And we also offer tutoring, which is more James' side of the business.
I'm James. I'm the academic director of Take Note Lessons. I keep a full tutoring schedule, and I also help manage the other tutors that are contracted with us.
Awesome. And all of your students at present are, for the most part, based in New York, but we do have some online students as well, correct? We're kind of offering some in home lessons and some online lessons for the academic tutoring and music.
We do. We still have some students in California and other states, mostly New York, but still still some around the country.
Awesome. Awesome. When we started working together, I know you guys already had both sides of the business. You've been doing this for a long time. What were some of the things, racking up, by the way, just to kind of orient everyone, we're backing up almost a year. We're just shy of about a year of working together. What did things look like last summer? What was going well? And what were some things that you were maybe a little bit frustrated about in the business?
Well, I think the reason we initially contacted you was that COVID had changed our business remarkably. I mean, on
Yeah.
one hand, online lessons have been great and have led to us being able to expand our business, but at the time in the summer, it was a very scary time going into fall, not knowing exactly what was going to happen next. And we were trying to make a return to in-home lessons. We didn't know if that would how that would work and exactly we had done a little bit of it, but not what it used to be, and so we really needed guidance with how to reestablish ourselves in the New York market and also try to expand online in other ways too. So I think it was a very terrifying time of
It
completely
was.
reimagining our our business and what this means, coming out of COVID.
Yeah, that was a scary time. I think coming out of the pandemic, you had a lot of families that only wanted in person lessons
Yeah.
and um, not a lot of people that wanted to teach in person lessons.
Yeah.
So hiring was difficult, and just the logistics of teaching online for years and then having to reassemble schedules in person was really difficult. It was just a really hard time, and we knew that we needed to do something to expand our business. We weren't quite sure what, and then Michelle found you, and um, I'll be honest, I was a little skeptical at first, and then I sat through that first meeting, and I was like, "We have to do this.
Hmm.
We have to do this." And I could just tell. I think we met for a half hour, and I could just tell the depth of your knowledge and expertise. And I think just that meeting alone gave me a lot of confidence that we could do this. We can build the business back up. It might be scary. It might be really hard, but with some guidance, I knew we could really take off again.
Well, and it's been a great year. I mean, you guys have had a lot of really
Yes.
great growth and change, which we're certainly going to talk about. I want to cycle back to that time just one more time. When we're talking about this building back up again and the regrowth, our marketing had to look a little bit different. I know previously in this New York market, you guys had a lot of great word of mouth marketing. People knew who you were. You'd been offering these in home lessons. Families that were happy because you had a lot of very happy families would tell other people, and it had just kind of grown organically. What was happening last summer? Why was that not necessarily working the way it had, pre-pandemic? What were some of those roadblocks that you're running into, both on the music and the tutoring side, that maybe were a little bit more frustrating in your marketing?
One thing that was really tough, we lost a lot of teachers during
Mm,
COVID. A lot of people left the city. And when a teacher leaves that people like, we encourage the family, please try somebody else. But in the midst of COVID, a lot of people just pulled back and said, you know what, if our teachers is leaving and won't ever be able to see us in person again. Life is scary enough right now. We have enough expenses, things like that. We're just going to quit. And
Yeah.
that was really tough to deal with, really unfortunate that, every time a teacher would move back to Texas or wherever, that we would lose a good chunk, if not all of their client load.
Yeah.
So we saw our staff dwindling. We
Mhm.
also saw that we couldn't necessarily give people, maybe it's give them one student, but people want more than that, that feels like, well, why am I working for, they can't give me very much. So it was very difficult, our teachers. And I think we both started trying to just like take as much as we could to
Mm.
cling on to whatever, was was left, and people who would continue and everything like that. But that was hard too, because then we started to feel like, that that was on us, and we didn't have a lot of staff support. Tutoring, especially then too, as the standardized test got canceled, that was an
Right.
extremely difficult time. If you want to
Forgot about
speak to
that.
that, because that was
Yeah.
yeah, that was something special. Yeah.
Yeah, you also had just sort of the death of live music in New York, which means musicians weren't coming here, theater artists, actors, singers were not coming here like they had. So hiring got very difficult. I had forgotten they had canceled
And then
the
they canceled
practice tests.
tests.
They several of them, and
Yeah.
that was tough.
Yeah.
That was tough.
So we were, very, very nervous about what the future held. And we're not marketers, we're not business people. We both come from an artist background. Even you're a writer, and definitely do like the math and all the STEM things too. But we both come from a very not a marketing place, not a
Yeah.
business minded place necessarily. And we'd always just kind of, I don't know, gotten by, like you said, through word of mouth and things. People liked us and handed us to their friends. But when it came down to really reinventing the business on a couple of fronts, we had no idea how to do that.
I love to teach. I don't like to sell as much.
Yes.
Marketing is not my forte. I learned a lot in school, my master's program, but selling, services, selling, the idea of selling yourself, it was really foreign to me, and definitely was something that I know I needed to learn, and I feel like I've learned a lot.
Awesome. Well, and this was something I think the sales process, the enrollment process we were stressed about. Also, packaging your services was a big
Mhm.
part of those initial conversations because a lot of this was done sort of a la carte, like kind of paid weekly. We're, kind of collecting tuition here and there. Our teachers were kind of collecting tuition here and there. So it kind of got messy on the back end. That
Mhm.
was overwhelming too. And I think it was taking a lot of time and energy from both of you. It also meant that the schedule was kind of a disaster. I know, James,
Mhm.
you were talking like just before we hit record, you were talking about the fact that you would have students come some weeks, but not others. And there was a lot of instability in your scheduling, in your income. And that was causing more stress even too last summer, that there'd been all this change and the business that was there wasn't always as
Yes.
predictable, right?
Yeah, I students with tutoring, they tend to take off when it's
Yeah.
convenient, and the way that we run the business now, we're both, I think, so much more consistent with the clients we see. Our instructors are more consistent, and the amount of admin that we do on a weekly basis has probably been cut in half, maybe more
It's
than
yeah.
that. Um, that was definitely a stress.
Mm.
Michelle handles most of the billing, and I know that was very hard on you, and I know you were very relieved when that started to get easier.
Yes, that's very true, because we were really hodgepodge
Mm.
before meeting you, and I think scared to ask for people for commitments.
Yes.
I think
Yeah.
that was it. It was like, well, will they? If we try to sell a package, nobody's going to go for that. They want the weekly flexibility, and as nice as the weekly flexibility might be, people don't see progress.
Right.
So that was another thing, especially with the tutoring. Music absolutely matters weekly, but it wasn't as big a problem in music for tutoring. It's a lot of high school kids who have so many commitments, and it's just their schedules are tougher.
Yeah.
And they were just kind of canceling whenever they wanted, which led to a lot of instability in the tutoring schedules. And with the packages, if they do need to reschedule, they make it up because they
Yeah.
are committed to that, and it does lead to better results too, because they're getting that prep that they need for their class or their test. So it really is better for everybody overall, as far as even the student results. But that was a really scary leap for us to make. I think we're both scared to like ask too much of people, but
Yeah.
if someone is gonna take music or tutor, there should be a certain level of commitment, and we had
Absolutely.
to learn that. And I think you gave us the confidence to understand that and to actually go there.
I was always terrified of throwing
Mm.
out a big number to a client, and that really scared me. And that's why I used to do my lessons by the lesson. But um, having that consistency, it doesn't do really anybody good to tell a client, "I told you so." If you take weeks off, the progress is not going to be as good.
Yeah.
Weekly lessons are the best way to go. And then if they take a bunch of time off, "I told you so," just doesn't help. They don't want to hear
No.
that, and it does no one any good. So knowing there's a set number of lessons that we're going to meet before the test, I can plan out my lesson plan, my curriculum that much better. Knowing exactly how many lessons there are going to be before a test, the students I think feel better prepared, and that consistency is just so key.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to brag on you guys for a second too, because as we're talking about the market that you're working in and all the work that you've done, you are in a very challenging market. You have a really incredible client base that not only are we talking New York City, but we're dealing with families these are high net worth families. These are families that are sending their kids hopefully to Ivy League caliber institutions.
Yep.
There's also a lot of pressure on you both to
Yes.
make sure that these students are achieving at that level.
Yes.
So, when we're talking about packages and creating this stability and structure, yes, human nature is that we think we want flexibility. We want to just kind of show up willy-nilly when it's convenient, cancel whenever we want. And having that flexibility, especially for these high net worth clients, it does feel good on the
Mhm.
surface that
Mhm.
they are getting a lot of a lot of leash, maybe for lack of a better word, that there's a lot that they can change in the schedule and it's kind of on demand for them. However, we also know that they have high expectations, and those expectations require some structure. They require more consistency, especially as we're talking about the tutoring, James, on your end.
Yes.
Yes.
And that was a fast change that we made is, hey, if students have these expectations, there needs to be a structure in place to allow those expectations to be met. And if someone that is saying no to that structure or that package, then maybe they're just not an ideal fit because how are you going to get them the results that they want? It's unfair pressure on you, correct?
Yeah, I have families that are disappointed with a 1,500 SAT score, and that's,
Yeah.
you know, I don't think sometimes parents or students realize how hard that is,
Yeah.
and how rare some of these scores and admissions to some of these schools are. But we definitely have seen Ivy League admissions and extremely high scores. Um, the test prep has gone really well this year. Actually, I think just about every one of my students met their goal.
That's
So
fantastic.
yeah, it's been really good for the tutoring. You see that consistency helps not just with the billing and the convenience of it, but it definitely has shown up in the scores as well.
Mhm.
Students have done really well this year. I've been really happy.
That's awesome. We also talked about data collection as part of this, that when we're marketing, we want hard data from both of you so that when we meet with the potential family for the first time, especially if we're going to say these bigger numbers that again, as like the artist side of us, they're a little bit more intimidating to have to say. It's a harder pitch to make. We want to have evidence behind that. Like, this is why my rates are this high. My students achieve their goals. They get into the institutions that they want. They are playing the pieces that they want. They're playing independently. They're finding that consistency. They're making youth orchestras and whatever the goals might be for those students, that having that evidence and data made a big difference. Is that part of what gave you the confidence in going into those conversations, having some numbers or data or like expected results to be able to share with families?
Yeah, I don't think I had really even taken a hard look at my
Mm.
numbers before our conversation. And, um, I always knew I was good at what I did. But when I looked at the numbers and it was like my students recover on average 30 to 50% of their lost points on a standardized test, that's absolutely something that a parent and a student can latch onto. Like, okay, I'm in good hands.
Yeah.
I can trust this person, give myself over to the process, and have faith that we're going to get results. And that faith has absolutely been rewarded this year. My students have done really well.
That's awesome. I remember that conversation. I think
Mm-hmm.
I gave you a little homework assignment to go run
Yeah.
Yes.
some data. I remember that next call and you're like, "You're
Yes.
not going to believe this because I can't believe this." It's so cool though to have those numbers, and it gives so much more confidence, and obviously like builds everything up that we're talking about. Especially because you are hiring other teachers. It's not just you
Mm-hmm.
guys that you're representing at this point. Now we are responsible for the well-being and the livelihood and the success of other teachers that we're employing in that marketing. So let's talk a little bit about the lead generation and how we've grown this not only for your own, individual students that both of you are working with, but on whole, how we've grown the studio. What has been working the best for you, and why do you feel like your lead generation is so much more consistent as of late?
The tools that you give in your videos and things like that,
Absolutely work.
it works. It works. And it's stuff that even some the other day I was thinking, well, that seems really simple, but I never would have thought of it by myself.
Mm.
It really, really has worked and consistently over time where we used to have, it was pretty much fall push, winter push. And that was it, and it was good, but now I feel like we still have fall and winter push, but then we have more consistency across time where people are seeing the marketing that we've been doing, and call us later on. And that's new. We had
Mm.
no idea what to do. And I feel like we still haven't touched on every part of your program. I mean, it's just like there's always more we can do, and but it's a structured more, because I used to kind of sit and go, I'm going to work on the business today, and sit there
Mm.
and go, I have no idea how to market or work on the business today. What does that mean? Let me buy some Google ads. And it's
Yeah.
it's or Facebook ads, which so we were trying these things that we were putting money into for advertising and not seeing results, and it just frustrated me, and I was like, well, forget it. I'm not like this
Yeah.
marketing, we have dumped so much money into things that don't work. And you honestly were the one of the first things that I feel like we put, some money into, and it worked. So that was amazing. And just the structure, even today, if I wanted to, do some work on our marketing, I have your your setup of what I should be doing, what I can always be always be doing. And it's stuff that is very, very effective. And
Good.
I just had no idea. So it's been huge that way.
Good. Good. I know when we were kind of running through some of the numbers on the back end today, in that first 90-day period, which it is our fall push. We were
Right.
talking about like August, September of last year. It was our fall push. But in that first 90-day period, please correct me if I'm wrong, enrollment had over doubled, revenue had over doubled. Like we saw massive growth in those first few months. And at that point, you said we had several leads, at least one lead coming in every day.
Mm-hmm.
Where were those leads coming from? What was working the best for you in some of the actions that we've been taking together?
A lot of the groups that
Mm.
we joined and the posting partner stuff is absolutely invaluable.
We have a great
Um,
posting partner.
yes, and find a good posting partner too. And that definitely, and we work well together back and forth too. And that's huge. So that was a lot of it. But even just people finding our website, maybe it was through the same avenues. Like honestly,
Mhm.
I started to not even know where some of the leads were coming from, which to me is like, It's like you're just getting people calling, and that's really nice. So I kind of expected, we usually have a lot of calls like end of August, first part of September, and then it tends to kind of dip. And it still was not. I mean, it was crazy at first. Like I was like, oh my gosh, we're getting so much. It still dipped a little bit, but it stayed, more along the way where we're still hearing from people throughout the week, even into October, November. Always around the holidays, things slow down no matter what. But, even now with summer, we tend to get zero summer leads. And even now, I am
Mhm.
hearing from people, not necessarily people who are ready to start lessons, or a couple of them have, but not, not quite like fall. But people are thinking ahead to September and still interested in talking with us, which
Yeah.
does not happen every year. Summer is a very dead time in New York, and even this year, I'm getting nibbles, which I think is huge. Even though it's not nearly what we have in the fall, it's like if anybody's thinking of us over the summer, it's like that's awesome. So
Yeah.
it's just been a lot more consistency as far as even if we do have a downtime, I we can do work to we there are things we can do that we understand to help promote, and also I have the confidence that this will pick back up instead
Yeah.
of before it was like, will anybody ever call us again? And I know that's a little like not realistic thinking, but it's how you feel in those like
Yeah.
long downturns where you're not hearing from anybody.
I actually start with a new client next week, which is great because summer, especially with tutoring, all the New York clients go to the Hamptons, go to
Yeah.
Europe,
You guys have a very
and
challenging
and
clientele in
just
that regard.
summers can be really hard.
Yeah.
But our summers have gone from very little business to a decent amount of business, and we're still getting leads like every day.
Yeah, like well,
Um,
not every day right now, but we're getting
it
some.
it
We're getting
it
some.
seems like it.
Yeah, and I've got a list going, which I don't usually have in the summer, of people to contact, going
Mm.
into fall, who say they want to start. They won't all pan out, and that's the thing with the leads. Not everyone pans out for sure, and that's always been the case. But I think our percentage of who does pan out is definitely going up, and we've learned a lot as far as how to convert from that first initial email or however they contact us to actually having one of us or a teacher teach a lesson. We see a lot more conversion
Yeah.
that way, and that's really good. We've changed how we approach new leads, and you definitely have great stuff as far as the art of the follow-up and consultations and things like that we used to just kind of, oh, would you like lessons, and then you never hear back and you're like, oh, I guess they moved on, so
Mm.
it's a little bit harder work, but it's also it does work, and you need to do it.
My phone game is completely different than it was a year ago.
Yeah.
You have some really great material. Like I love you've got that script that you wrote out that's on Kajabi. I love that. That was like so helpful to me about what I should be talking about. I need to talk about myself less. I need to ask a lot more questions. I need to find out as much as I can about the student, about their learning style, and then once you get into all that, you really develop a really strong rapport with the parent before you've even had the first lesson, and um, that's invaluable. I'm so much better on the phone, and like I thought I've done this for 15 years. I thought I was pretty good on the phone. I'm so much better, but that's all. Honestly, that's always something that's been really hard for me. When I
Mm.
started um, teaching years and years ago, my hands would shake
Mm.
when I would pick up the phone and be talking to a parent. And I've gained a lot of confidence since then, and now I feel like it's at an entirely different level. Um, thanks to your advice and your scripts and just how to go about talking to a client and better at sales. And um, I love to teach. I'm not great at sales, but I feel like I've gotten good. Um, it's been great.
I know one of the reframes that we had made early on, because I remember these conversations too about like being nervous about the sales process and having to sell, especially when we're talking about shifting from individual sessions from tutoring to these really big packages,
Yeah.
or from individual lessons to monthly auto pay and flat rate, and trying to move in that direction. This word sales was a sticking point, and I think
Mm,
it's a common sticking point for all of us. Like, this is not, it's something that even I have to remind myself sometimes. We're not selling, we're trying to problem solve. Like,
mhm,
they are coming to us because they already want to work with us. How can we help describe our process, and how can we
mhm,
help describe our services in a way that ensures it's a match? And also, how do I make sure that this is a good fit for me, that the student and their goals and the expectations that they have fit what we offer and what we can provide to them, and how can I describe that in a way that we come to that mutual decision, and now we're both excited to work together. And then if there are some concerns, like maybe it's pricing, maybe it is the package that's a concern, how can we problem solve through that and give alternate solutions, and what do I have in my back pocket to pull out in case there's questions or issues. And seeing the confidence come from that, and in changing how we're treating those conversations to less of a pitch and more of that shared conversation. You're not alone in that. It's something that I think we're all working on, but it also makes it so much more comfortable, I think, and enjoyable. The process isn't painful anymore because
yeah.
it's more genuine. It's not talking at someone the entire time, right?
Well, I also think we really learned who we are. That sounds really trite. But some of your initial exercises, at first I was like, oh, why do I have to do these like statements of like, the niche statement and things like that. But it really, especially talking through it with each other, it
Mm,
really helped us to go, oh, yeah, this is who I think we thought we knew who we were as a company, but putting it all together and being like, yeah, this is what we believe, and it's the type of people that we try to hire who also have these similar values as far as teaching and goals and things like that. I think that was really important because then we could convey that to a parent in a way that made sense, that wasn't just like up here.
yeah,
It was a very, putting those statements together was like, okay, that's an easy thing that I can just say in a consult, to like talk about what they're getting, and what to
yeah,
expect. That we're this type of company, we may not be this type of company, and that might not be for everybody. And that also does help weed out a little bit too if someone's not looking for that. And you're right, fit is so important. And I used to be really afraid of scaring somebody off. We have to
sure,
fit every need. We have to try to fit everybody, cling on to each of these leads. And it's like, now I think I have a little bit better attitude about it, that, they're not every single student is a great fit for us. We're not the perfect fit for every single student. That's okay. And to, try to understand who we are, be honest about who we are, what we offer, what you can expect. And if everybody's on board with that, it tends to go along well. And if not, that's okay. That 100% of people don't have to be happy 100% of the time. That's incredibly difficult for me. But I think you've given me confidence to be more okay with that.
Yeah, I think it's true. We did kind of figure out who we are as a company,
mm,
and from a distance, it does kind of seem like every music company is the same, and that is absolutely not the case. And I think we used to maybe be too flexible,
Mm-hmm.
trying to
mm,
offer everything to everyone. It We had the conversation one day that it feels really good in the short term to be
mm,
able to tell a client yes to anything they want, but long term that can actually be detrimental. And by establishing who you are and what they're going to get out of the process and how you're different and special as a company, I think is absolutely critical to what we do. And um, it seems strange, but sometimes I feel like saying no sometimes gets us even more business.
right,
And as counterintuitive as that is, telling a family, this is what you're going to get out of your experience with us. If you want this, we may not be the best fit for you. I feel like creates a level of trust
Mm-hmm.
where this person is not going to say whatever they want to get us to sign up. There's a certain level of trust and respect that goes with that. So I think learning that, um, not to say yes to everything because we're trying to get every single client to sign up that calls us, and I think that's been really important.
Yeah.
And having more leads certainly helps with this.
Yes, it
When
It
does.
when people
does
are contacting
because,
you more
yep.
frequently, it certainly helps.
We were so scared of losing anybody who came
Yeah.
through. That's true too. It gives a little more, not flexibility, but ability to be like, that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And okay, so look, I want to ground us for a second because this has been amazing. You guys have shared so much and I really appreciate it. I also want to talk about the fact that this is not easy. This
Mm,
does take a
True.
lot of work and effort,
yes.
especially because you are, again, as I kind of hinted at before, it's not just the two of you. We have other teachers. We are growing a business and having to pay other people and hire, and there's other work behind the scenes that has to happen. When we work through some of those more difficult things, whether it was
Hmm.
establishing more of the sales process and reformatting things a little bit, whether it's bringing on new teachers, what are some things now that give you more confidence or maybe have um, increased the tolerance level or the stability in the business where those things that maybe were really stressful in the beginning aren't as stressful anymore? What is helping to make this feel more structured?
I think absolutely knowing that we can rely on you and put comments in the Facebook group. And also, if we do have a difficult situation, we can talk about that not just with you, but with other instructors that are
Hmm.
Hmm.
probably have the exact same problem, just somewhere else. And I think understanding sometimes that those situations are not unique to
Mm,
us is really important, and has given us a lot of confidence.
yes. And you very much, again, me being the pleaser, we tend to handle things sometimes a little bit differently. And, we get along most of the time, but there would be things that, like, we would want to handle different ways. And being able to kind of come to you with you're an outside party who sometimes tends to have, you're a little tougher than I am. I tend to be very like, I just want to make everybody happy. And your philosophies have helped me so much to come more a little bit more to the middle there, and for us to sometimes say, ask Kelly.
Sometimes we need a tiebreaker,
Yes.
and it's great that we rely on each other, and we have that, and that's always been, I think, a strength of our business, that we tackle just about every problem, with two heads, and um, that's great. But every once in a while, you need somebody with a little bit of emotional distance, with expertise, who's done this. You've taught for a long time yourself, and it just helps. It just
Mhm.
helps so much.
I understand. Working with my own spouse full time, I get it.
That's
Yeah,
true.
and you
Yes.
understand that
It's so
very well.
helpful.
Yes,
It's so
that's
helpful.
true.
That's awesome. Okay, so speaking of which, and family dynamics, we have other exciting updates. You guys have some personal things happening. Share what's coming in your life. I definitely don't want to take the thunder there, but share what's happening in your life, and also how we've gotten to this point in the business that we're ready for this and excited for this, and we're feeling some more of this stability as much as
Yes.
possible.
Yes. So I am due in August with a baby boy.
She's
So excited for you
34
guys.
weeks
Yeah, we're
pregnant
getting
right
close.
now.
Yeah.
Do you want to stand up?
No, no. It's becoming very real. I'm not saying that. But this is something that I we've wanted but been very, very scared, being self-employed people who run a
Yeah.
business. It's like I turned him at one point, like last year, and was like, how would we can't do that. Like, how would we
Mm.
possibly have a child?
Without maternity leave.
Yep, we don't.
Without
I don't get
without
paid for
some of the
maternity
things
leave.
that.
So building the business and finding more staff and more teachers has really been key to us feeling more confident to do this. Especially when we were kind of personally clinging to each lead, and it was mostly us. It's like, well, I can't take time off. And even now, I'll admit it's still scary that like I'm, not. I am planning on taking some actual time to not work at all, which you have also encouraged. And I feel like without your encouragement, I'd be like, you know what, 2 days after I give birth, I could probably teach like maybe 2 or 3 lessons. Like, that I think that's been good. You've brought me to earth of like take some time with this. It's okay, and kind of giving me permission to think that that's okay. Um, and it's still we don't know what our lives will look like. We think we know what our life, but it's still kind of a leap of faith. But I do feel the confidence that even if we do take a hit for a little while, we probably will, even with our teachers and stuff, just me being farther away from the business, there will be some sacrifices there, but that we can build it back up, and that it'll be okay, and we know the tools and we understand what to do to come back from that too, and I think it'll end up being a little easier than sometimes my nighttime thoughts start running, as far as like, oh my god, I'm not if I don't work for this long. But you've definitely helped with ideas, troubleshooting, how we can make this work, and like I said, if things do dip for a little bit because I'm not as involved and everything, I really do know that, especially with your support, we can get it back. We can go,
If we did it after COVID, we can do it after 3 months of maternity leave.
yeah.
It's
So
okay.
it'll be okay. And I think without you there to be like, this is okay, and you can take some time off and things like that, like I I don't know that I would believe that. It's just it's been very, very helpful to be able to go over kind of a plan with you and have some ideas in place of where this can go. And we might have to pivot a little bit along the way, I'm sure, like everything with having a child, but we can do it.
And how to best handle the client relationships that you might take a break or get a sub, and how to approach those clients in a way that's respectful and makes them feel supported, and hopefully they're also happy for us.
Right.
And those relationships, and maintaining those relationships in the best possible way. I thought you had some really great things to say, and it gave us some confidence that she could take some time off, and that's okay, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for you guys. I can't wait.
Thank you.
I can't wait. Oh my goodness. I'm so pumped. And I really appreciate you sharing this. I know this is a really personal part of your story and your journey. So thank you for, kind of letting us see a little window into how this process has felt. Cause I know it is a lot to be self-employed and to be thinking about a family and, expanding and what this all looks like. It can definitely be
Yeah.
stressful. So I appreciate that. Final
Of course.
question, and then I think we'll wrap up for the day. Um, if we're looking at the Outside the Box program, if you were going to recommend someone to this program, who do you think is the best fit? And what should they know before they take the leap of faith? Maybe if they are a little skeptical, James, what are some things that you'd want them to
Yeah.
know before they jump in?
um Gosh, that it does take work and dedication, and
Yeah.
it's absolutely something that you need to be thinking about every week, ideally every day, and making that incremental progress, because it is a long-term process, and I think every part of it is important in its own way, and there is work that goes with it, but you're absolutely going to see a payoff, and that work is going to pay dividends. Um, I think that's probably what I would tell somebody
Yeah.
that wants to sign up or is thinking about signing up with you.
And I think we timed it really well with the fall push. I think that worked out really well for us. And I think that's great. If someone doesn't start, then that's fine. But I think like stick with it. Like really put that work in, especially in the beginning. And you do a great job of holding us accountable too, for like, are you doing these things? And you do like it, I don't know, we've said a lot of positive, you're amazing, but it's not magic, It's
Yeah.
not like I can just sit at home and go, okay, well, I hired Kelly now. Why isn't the phone ringing? You know, like you still just like test prep or music lessons, and musicians should hopefully understand that it is. It's like practicing, you know, and hopefully you will see those kind of like we saw a lot of quick return with fall and using your techniques and everything like that. But even if someone doesn't like stick with it and do the homework, you know, and there's always there's always more to be done, you know. It's like if you feel like one part isn't, you know, picking up for you, do the next thing on Kelly's list, because you will see it, but you also do have to, you know, be with it along the way. And if you do have a partner or a business partner, be sure that everybody's ready to go together, because I think we did a lot of work together, you know, to make it happen. And it was kind of double the work because it is tutoring and music. It didn't always go together, but, you know, very important that, you know, if it's just you or if you are working with somebody else, that they're on board too.
That's
I
awesome.
think your ideal candidate is a musician or maybe even a tutor who knows their stuff and has
Mm-hmm.
confidence in their own ability, but just doesn't quite know or understand how to interface with the business part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, we love music, and I love literature and math, and there is an entire business side to this. If I could just teach calculus all day, that'd be you know great.
So
I
good.
make me
I
happy.
I wish I shared that sentiment, James.
It's true though. You know, if I could just teach calculus and not worry about any of the admin stuff, that would be my ideal. But this is a business, and you've got to treat it like a business, and sometimes that's really hard. My degree is in film. My master's degree is in screenwriting. So I didn't take any of those classes in college. I had no idea, you know, how to go about that. So I think somebody that is, you know, knows I'm a great musician, maybe has even taught in the past a couple of lessons, or maybe even family members, and wants to take it to the next level. I think that's your ideal candidate.
I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for sharing both sides of this, all the fun, exciting, incredible updates that we've had, and then also the fact that this is a lot of work. And I want to paint that realistic picture for people that it does take
Mhm.
effort, but that effort, it's not in vain. It might not always be the fastest thing on the planet, but when you put that sustained energy and effort in, the results are much longer term and much more sustainable and much more predictable for all of us. So I appreciate that.
Can I say one more
Oh,
thing?
absolutely.
I've said this to Michelle several times, but if I was running for president, I would want you in the room at all times.
Thank you. You know what?
Yes.
You're very
We'll plan
welcome.
for it. That's so funny.
Yeah. Right.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. I really do. And working with you guys has been such a joy. I know we've just had a great working relationship, but also a great friendship throughout this entire process. And I really appreciate the trust from the very beginning, but also today and sharing everything that you've worked on and what's made so much progress in your business. I'm so excited for you guys and your new
Sure.
addition
Thank
and
you.
everything that's coming your way. Congratulations again. And I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.